Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. Change is inevitable. Growth is optional. There's been a lot of change in the past few years.
We actually can't hear you, Naomi.
Oh,
one moment. We cannot hear you.
I am not on mute. Can you hear me yet?
Okay. Hold the phone. Can you talk again?
Okay, I'm not on mute. Can you hear me yet?
Yep, it was our fault. Sorry about that. Okay.
Okay. So change is inevitable. Growth is optional. There's been a lot of change the past few years in my life, both personally and professionally. I am going to talk today about some of the changes in my professional life and how leadership has affected and impacted some of the recent changes. As we all know, COVID has changed our world in general the past few years. The business community has felt seismic changes more than it has in the recent past. The company that I work for, which had grown from a small local startup by a couple of friends out of a home closet, was sold to a larger and as equally quickly growing company with headquarters in Illinois and offices and warehouses in multiple states. The last change that I will talk about is my decision to look for other employment opportunities. COVID impacted the company that I work for greatly, more than we originally anticipated that ever possibly could at the outset of the pandemic. Those of us not in the manufacturing side or the shipping dutifully went to work from home, as we wanted to be careful that lengthy sickness and absences would not impact our small manufacturing and shipping teams, because they were the lifeblood of what our work does. So we were sent home with our cloud logins, asked if we had equipment that would work, and we expected to be back in the office within a reasonable amount of time. This, however, did not prove to be the case. As we were sequestered in our individual homes, trying our best to comply with social distancing mandates, we now had to obtain new skills on the fly. Distance meetings were no longer occasional. They were the only way to keep a sense of teamwork. Forbes magazine has some tips for leading in difficult times. One of those tips is communicate. Now that our team is back in the office, we see how much our teamwork was affected by the lengthy work from home period. Our own department had a little bit of trouble keeping in communication. We had technological skills that should have enabled us to be able to communicate effectively. We had instant messaging program called Slack. We had emails that we could email back and forth. We have cell phones, those sorts of things. So communication should have been easy. But as we got back, we saw how our communication was not the best as we were distanced. And interdepartmentally, we faced even greater challenges than just our small finance team had in keeping communication going. It honestly had become a nightmare. In finance, interdepartmental cooperation is of the utmost importance. With a lack of face-to-face meetings, work days spread out from the more than usual 8 to 6, getting back to a new normal has been a challenge. Forbes also has a tip: stay true to your core. The company leadership tried very hard to maintain the small community feeling that most employees really appreciated about our company. There were remote poker games, remote social events, and even a solve a mystery event or two. The decisions to have most employees work remotely was one that the leadership originally tried to take very great care with and keep that sense of community going. But as the time dragged out and funds became harder to be able to allocate to social events, that community feeling started to lessen. Also, a big change was our company was sold. This provided a huge area for challenge for the leadership. The leadership who sold the company tried to find a company that was going to match our values as closely as they can. And they believed that they had found that great match. And in some cases, it is a very good match. However, leadership styles and the leadership being even more remote from state to state became even a little more difficult. The challenge of combining companies became a little more challenging than either company originally anticipated. You go in and you expect certain obstacles, but you can't expect every obstacle. And there were a few more than we had originally anticipated. Leadership, again, tried very hard to kind of follow what Forbes said. You want to communicate. You want to stay true to your core. You want to be authentic. You want to be encouraging to your teams. And they tried all of this. Yet still, the camaraderie that you feel when you're together in a space had lessened. So our company now is deciding how to best move forward in this challenging environment. They are having more meetings on leadership, how to lead in changing and challenging times, and trying to bring that cohesive community that we once felt we had back with people being remote. So it's been a bit of a challenge. The last change that I will talk about is I decided to go ahead and make an employment change. I am still in that process, so I don't have, that is an ongoing change for me. And I am a person who does not like change. I like to keep things the way they are. I enjoy history. I enjoy things from the past. When I was a little girl, I enjoyed watching Little House on the Prairie. You know, I like supper at 6 o'clock, these types of things. So deciding to go ahead and make a change was a difficult process for me. I will be moving on to new leaders, new leadership. And for me, that has been a challenge to decide, is this what I really want to do? And now that I have, I'm a little bit excited as well as intimidated to find what the new leadership will bring and how it will change my next steps and my circumstances. Yes, change is inevitable, but growth is optional. And I am trying to choose to grow with my change. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.